Hello and welcome to episode 12 of DataCube's free online training course. Today we're going to be speaking about tooltips and report page tooltips. We're going to start simple. We're going to be talking about how to format your tooltips to look good and how to change them. And then we're going to move on to something a bit more advanced, talk about report page tooltips. So how you can put other reports or other sheets, charts, visuals, whatever it might be, within your charts. When you hover over something, instead of it just showing you the default, we're actually going to be able to show charts or instructions within your visuals itself. So let's crack on, start simple, and we'll get a bit more technical later on in the episode. Okay, we're back in our Power BI workbook that we've been using for this series so far, and as I mentioned, we're talking about tooltips today. What do I mean by that? So you'll notice on most visuals, and I say most because some have restrictions and then don't have them, if you hover over your visual, you're presented with a box, and this is called a tooltip. Now this KPI visual, for example, which is this one here on the right, doesn't have tooltips. You can't enable them, so you can't toggle them on or off. But a lot of visuals in Power BI do, and they're really useful to getting that actual data you're interested in. So I think the best example on this dashboard is this sales value data here. Is where we have our trends, we can see our trends, we can see how that's affected by the different products. But it's really hard to, if you wanted to know an exact number, exactly what they are. So for example, this dark blue dot up here, we know we're probably around 290, say, on this sales axis, but it's hard to tell exactly what that number is if we really need to know. So here we know that the product is aubergine, that's what dark blue represents. It's for the date of the 6th, it's 288 sales, so I was pretty close with the 290 guess, and the value of that was £115 in total. So what I'd like to just quickly run through, as you can see this one is slightly different, is how you can format these. So if we click on the visual we're interested in, we go to our format roller, we scroll down, it's normally quite near the bottom on visuals, so you'll see it'll be in slightly different orders on some, but normally it's sort of penultimate one, tooltip visual header at the bottom. You can expand that, there's normally quite a lot of options. We're going to ignore the top two because we're getting onto that later. But we can see this one here is formatted slightly differently. So again, consistency is key. So I've just quickly changed this one just to show you this. So label color represents the field name. So for this example, we've got subscriber events. So subscriber events is year 4, unsubscribers year 3, subscribers year 3, and then the volume, which is the other field. So it's the two fields that are in here. Now we can format these to make them look a bit better than the sort of standard. So whether that might be using the colours that we've already got on our dashboard, from our colour palette, the theme file that we've generated, we can change the font colours, we can sizes, we can change the background colour, maybe we want it slightly lighter, and then we can just sort of trial what these look like. Again, it's really key to keep them consistent, so make sure if you format one like this, then make sure you format another one similarly. What you can do, which is really interesting, is add extra levels of detail to them. So if we go to our chart here, this is going to be the key chart for today's lesson. You can scroll down on most of these, and there's actually a tooltips entry here, so you can add data fields. So anything that you're not using, so we're already using product, date, sales and value fields. If you had extra fields that you want to have the data for in the visual, you can do so. For example, if I popped in a few more fields like this, so you could have also, you could put something like this, and you can change. So we're using sums, but if you wanted a minimum or something like that, you can do that. So it's not affecting the chart itself, but it's just giving you more detail when you hover over. So now we can see that product. We can see a max value. We can see a KPI target of 1,000. We can see minimum sales. So if this data was a bit more dynamic, you could add lots of different variables that you might not need to display, but someone might want to know a bit more detail on the data, so they can hover and actually get that data really easily without having to create any extra chart. So something a bit more interesting, a bit more dynamic. So we can see tooltips, but there's actually a way of embedding report page tooltips within charts. So let me show you an example of that. Something really cool. So I'm going to go to tooltip, and the type here is default. I'm going to change that to report page, and now I've got this extra option here which says page. Now I've pre-made a few of these just to give you an example, and I'll show you exactly how I've done it afterwards. So I've created a sheet here called Tooltip, and in it is just the product, sales, value. So if I go back to my dashboard, I know I've clicked on Tooltip here in the format roller, and it's looking at this tooltip page. So now if I hover over, I actually get a bigger display of the key metrics, and that will change because it's slicing and filtering the data just to show exactly what we want. I made another one of these, which is Tooltip 2, and that looks like this. So it's the bar chart with the sales and values split by the products, but as the data will be filtered on the selection, it's just a nice way of showing exactly sales there. We've got 288, value is 115. So instead of having a sort of kind of more boring just sort of header what the value is, so you can actually create charts within charts, and this can be really powerful for being able to drill down. So if you had data with a bit more hierarchy, so for example, if these products, these fruits were maybe these fruits and vegetables from your grocery shop were into two categories, so it was fruit product, so there was only two bubbles here, the fruit product, and then you could maybe hover over and on with your fruit and then have a chart that breaks down by the different fruits within that subcategory. Or if this one was vegetables, for example, you could hover over and split those down by that subcategory, so you could see how that was broken down by different vegetables, and it's a nice way of sort of doing that drill down. So I'm going to show you how to do this just using these more basic versions, which are just these simple cards and these simple bar charts. So first up, we need to make a new sheet. We need to go to our format roller. Now under page information here, it's called page 1, that's absolutely fine, but it allows you to do this tooltip on or off. So this is what actually is telling Power BI that you want to make your sheet into a tooltip. Now you'll notice that the scale on these, it's not a whole sheet when you hover, it's just a small sort of window that occurs. So what you want to do is be able to scale your page size to represent that. So the best thing to do there is go to page size type and click on tooltip. Now mine has automatically gone to the correct size, but what might occur is that it doesn't, and that's because our page view is either set to fit page or fit to width. So to be able to change that, you can click on the view on the toolbar, go to your page view and click actual size to 100, and that will give you a scaled size, the tooltip that you need to be able to build your visuals to the right scale. What you don't want to do is build everything just set fit to width scale where it's really big, and then you go and implement it as a tooltip and it's scaled it down and you can't read anything because it's all so small. So that's exactly how I've built the two tooltip sheets here, so changing the page information and the page size. Now this first tooltip is just a little card, and I've got 3 cards here. So the first one is saying the product, the second is sales, and the third the value. Now you can format these to make them look a lot nicer, whether you take the category off if it was obvious what it is. So for example, on the product, I know that is the product, so I can take that away. You can format the data labels, change the color of them. So maybe if we wanted sales in purple, for example, and the value in light blue, we can do that. We could change the background color of this whole tooltip, or insert an image, for example, like we've done before, to create a nice template background file. So we can add sort of that sort of thing, nice borders in, using things like that. So if we hover over now, we can see how it looks a bit different. And I've got that one on the tooltip too. So let's toggle that over here. So if we go to format roller, go down to tooltips, I'm going to select tooltip. There we go, but now we've got our purple and our light blue. So it's similar sort of formatting as you do on a normal chart. And then for the second one, all I did here was I'm going to change that so that background isn't on anymore. There we go. So this is the tooltip 2. So this is just a simple bar chart split by product, adds in sales and value. And what I've done is I've turned off a lot of the features. So all the axes titles turned off, the actual x-axis is turned off, titles turned off, the legend I could probably put along the top to save a bit of space. I've put data labels on so that we don't need any grid lines or any axes, just to really simplify it, because I find these tooltips work best. Simplified so that when people are sort of hovering over, they're not getting inundated with extra information and overloading your dashboard. So I'm going to turn this tooltip to tooltip 2, as we just edited that one a bit. So when I hover over here, you can see the dark blue is sales, the light blue value for each of these, and it will change as you hover over the different bubbles as it's sort of slicing and dicing with that data. So down here, this sort of pink, I'm like, I don't know what product that is, I don't know how much sales, how much value, so I can just hover over. I can see that's broccoli, and we sold 30, and the value of that was £10 on that date. So let's make a new tooltip for this funnel chart. So at the moment we get category value, percentage of first, percentage of previous as we go down. So we've got our new page, we've made the page information a tooltip, we've resized the page to a tooltip, and we've made sure that the page view is set to actual size. So we're using this funnel data v2. So there's only a few fields in there anyway. So if we throw them into a table, and then maybe make it into a bar chart, I'm going to fill the size, and I'll just turn the title off now, and the background, and then what we're going to do, so we've made our page 1, maybe we can rename this to funnel tip, for funnel tooltip, and we go to our dashboard. At the moment we still have the standard tooltip, so if we click on that chart, go to the format roller, scroll down to normally the bottom, there's our tooltip, and we want to change our type from default to report page, and then it's automatically actually selected funnel tip, which is exactly what we want. So if we hover over now, we'll see our bar chart here that we've created, and it's filtered down to just the category that we have selected. So we can see here the values there, 50, 60, 80, 100, which matches our funnel perfectly. Obviously this isn't the best example for what a tooltip report page would look like, but that's a perfect demonstration of exactly how to use it. So that's worked successfully. You'd want to do some formatting on the axes and the fonts and colours and maybe the chart, but it's a really good way of being able to sort of drill down and find extra information into what we're looking for. So hope you enjoyed that. That was tooltips, just formatting in general, and being able to build those report page tooltips. So hope you enjoyed that. See you next time. Thank you very much.